Good evening or good day from wherever you're watching from. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutesi. Starting us off tonight, Rwanda's genocide widows have said that they've rebuilt themselves in the last 27 years after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Ghislaine Mugwaneza tells us more about this through a story of one Immaculée Kaitesi from Nyanza district.
Immaculée Kaitesi lives in Nyanza district in southern province. She lost her husband in 1994 during the genocide against the Tutsis. She says that she was devastated after losing her husband. I was depressed. I didn't know the direction of my life. I had so many wounds, losing my husband while having no memory left, losing my siblings, my parents, my in-laws and my friends. It was just wounds. More than 20,000 bodies are laid in Nyanza Genocide Memorial Site, including Kaitesi's family members. She says that after the loss, she fought depression and the battle of moving on. I started processing milk as we used to do it at home and started selling to the neighborhoods. I got a kiosk after because I had so many orphans to help. Then I thought of starting milk dairy business project. Then started manufacturing yogurts in order to keep living and fighting. Kaitesi managed to start a milk business. In 2013, she founded Zirakamgameza Nyanza Dairy, a business worth 300 million francs, and many people are already working with her, and they say the benefits they got from this business. I have 5 children. They all study. Last born is in P6, while the firstborn is about to graduate in university. My salary helps me in paying school fees for them without any problem. I have a kiosk that sells milk. I realized that we don't have to grieve always, but we should work. After surviving, Kaitesi decided to look after the orphans of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. Her works and supports are appreciated by Nyanza officials and residents. Except having a milk dairy, Kaitesi also sells construction materials. She always plans every 5 years of her work and monitors her progress in that time as well as planning for the future. I have not yet reached where I want to be. I want to achieve more so that the country finds solutions in me as well as my neighborhood. I still have so many plans to do more than this. Valerie Mukabayide, the chairperson of Avega Gahozo, the Association of Genocide Widows, says that genocide widows have remained strong through these last 27 years after the genocide against the Tutsis. Genocide widows are alive and strong. They work like others and they are contributing in the country's development. They can manage raising their children to those that still have them. They really fought, even though some of them are weak because of sickness. Another thing that we need to make effort in addressing is trauma, because you cannot work without stable life. Currently, more than 19,000 genocide widows are in Avega Gahozo. More than 200 men and 229 elderly people are being cared for in Iminganzima hostels. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, reporting for RTV.
Thank you, Ghislaine, for that report. Now, 4 innovative solutions that promote sexual reproductive health and mental health have been awarded $10,000 cash prize, each by Imbuto Foundation in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Culture. One of the winners is Josiane Umuredwa from the Mizero Care organization behind the Vuga Uchire Hotline project that aims at facilitating access to mental health information and service delivery through counseling sessions and campaigns to promote mental health. And in studio today, Josiane joins us to speak more about this. Good evening, Josiane.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too.
First of all, congratulations, and could you tell us about your project and what was the inspiration behind this?
Well, thank you so much. Most people get inspired when things are going well, but for me it's totally different. I was inspired by the problem that we have in our country. The fact that we're living in a country faced 1994 genocide against Tutsi, we have a high number of people with mental health problems, and the COVID-19 accelerated it. So we are bringing Vugushire Hotline as a solution because it's a digital healthcare platform that is addressing mental health problems by providing online therapy session, which was to be done with a confidentiality in a safe space.
How does it work?
Well, we're going to reach to our client through the following channels. We have phone calls, we have USSD app, and we have mobile application. So we're going to reach to people through 4 stages. We're going to have a registration. Like when you access our app, we're going to have a registration. We're going to make a profile of our customer. We have appointment book for the patient who is going for a physical session, multiple session, or group session. And we have consultation where our patient is going to be consulted, and we have post-consultation where our psychiatrist is going to give medicine to our patient.
Okay, you mentioned that one of your inspirations was the history of our country.
Yes.
So your target audience, is it just the victims or the people that have faced trauma from the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, or anyone can access this helpline?
Well, we are targeting 3 categories of customers. So we have youth who were born after genocide, we have youth whose parents are perpetrators, and we have a youth with disabilities and chronic diseases that was caused by the history of our country and also COVID effect. Yes.
Okay, and is this free of charge? Are you charging for it? What's the criteria?
Well, we have what we call in psychology, we have what we call session, and session is between 45 minutes up to 1 hour. So one session is 10,000. So there is this cost released by MOH, but we are going as a Mizark organization we are not allowed to go below, but we can go above or whatever. So we're going to have to make awareness so that our patients are going to be supported by insurance in a consultation, but for session, you have to pay it by yourself. Okay. But we're going to work with a different institution like National Collection Centers, Mbuto Foundation, FAGE, CNLG, with their beneficiaries, and to work with the different clinical hospitals who has a patient with mental health problems.
What's been the impact so far since the project began? Is it a new project, or is it something that started way back? And is there any impact that you've realized so far?
Well, thank you so much for a good question. Our project is not new to the market because in 2017 we were awarded by His Excellency Jeannette Kagame in Sidgwa Award. So where we helped 500 youth to overcome the problem from their history, the problem of depressions, PTSD, and different kind of mental health problems. Okay,
Josiane, before I let you go, maybe what does the future look like for you and your colleagues and partners behind this hotline?
Well, first of all, we have a dream, like we want to have a therapy center. We're going to help a lot of people, and before I leave, I'd like to inform or emphasize my fellow youth that they have to put up their socks and to do what they love. Because before, it was my dream. I wanted to be a therapist, but by now I'm living my dream. And I was this kind of person who didn't believe in competition. I say it belongs to this person, to that person, but I want to say that it belongs to nobody. It can be yours as it was mine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Josiane, and well done on all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now moving on, the organization founded by the Rwandan graduates genocide survivors in partnership with the Renewed Memory of Israel have launched a project to help preserve the history of the genocide against the Tutsi through the storage of testimonials and other works to be done by university students. We have this report. Preserving the history of the genocide against the Tutsi that can help everyone find out what happened is the goal of this project. According to Egide Gatari, the chairperson of GAERG, members of the Renewed Memory Society of Israel will work with students studying journalism at the Mount Kenya University to produce testimonials and other evidence of the history of the genocide against the Tutsi and to be published on social media and in the mainstream media.
One of the goals we are looking forward is to preserve and make known the history of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Wherever the genocide happened, the goal was to expose ethnicities and races And that's where the partnership with Israel comes in, for us to work together to preserve the history, which will help everyone, including children that will be born in the future. So far, we have children of genocide survivors, so these children too will learn of this history.
Some students at Mount Kenya University who will be involved in the project say they are happy to make their contribution as young people by making the history of the genocide against the Tutsi not distorted.
This is going to help us preserve the history, but also the fact that we will use social media to publish this history or testimonial videos of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. This will help us in the fight of genocide ideology and denial.
Because they've already done the project, I expect to learn how they did it, because also to know what they went through, what they did. Because once you even to keep pushing, as a country, we have to work together. So I think if we work with Israel, we are going to find a way, like we're going to learn from them. Because they already have the experience, we're going to learn from them.
Pini Sneer, the founder of Renewed Memory in Israel, says they expect their partnerships with GAERG and Mount Kenya University to contribute to the fight against the ideology of genocide among the young people and to help young people on the school campus understand their past, contribute to the writing and preservation of their history.
This project gets, first of all, the ability to echo their message throughout the distribution of the clips, convert an idea into a meaningful visual, and also they get to deal with painful parts of their history, cope with it, and overcome. So all of these are things that students get throughout the project.
The organization, founded by Rwandan graduate genocide survivors, works towards strengthening the capacity of the genocide survivor community to overcome consequences of the genocide against the Tutsi, to effectively contribute to genocide prevention globally, and reflecting on their role in the sustainable development of Rwanda. At the Gajitumba border in Nyagatare district on Saturday, 9 other Rwandans who had been illegally detained in various prisons in Uganda were received by the Rwanda immigration authorities. Ethan Tashobia tells us more.
At around 11 a.m. on Saturday, 9 Rwandan nationals, including 8 men and 1 woman, were dumped at the Kajitumba one-stop border post by Ugandan Immigration Services and received by the Rwanda Immigration Services. Upon arrival at the Kajitumba border, they were tested for COVID-19. They are said to have been detained in various prisons, including the headquarters of the Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence (CMI) in Buya, Kampala. They say they were tortured by the Ugandan security agents while in detention without any charges leveled against them.
The
God I have believed in since childhood is the same God that has safely got me out of Uganda. Security operatives came to my house at 3 a.m. dressed in civilian clothes, armed with guns and all kinds of armory. They were accompanied by 2 policemen who worked in my area. They blindfolded and cuffed me. I did not know where we were going, but later I found out that I was at CMI headquarters in Mbuya. They asked me to produce the guns I had been given by Kagame, alleging that I was distributing to other Rwandans. I was accused of transporting Christians from Rwanda to vote in Uganda. I was also accused of being a spy for the Rwandan president, and that I was in charge of deploying Rwandan spies in Uganda, disguising as Christians. While in detention facilities, we came into contact with the anti-Kigali operatives belonging to the Rwandan dissident Kayumba, who were asking us to join them. They later left the prison and left us in detention. I was tortured. My hand was broken. I cannot hold anything with this arm. I am still nursing wounds from the beatings, and my nails were ripped out and have started growing. I can't walk properly. Any Rwandan who dares to cross to Uganda should be ready to face it rough.
Ubwo nagiye ku murimo w'Imana tariki 24 z'ukwa mbere.
I had gone to a Christian mission, and they came to my house on January 24th and kidnapped my child. We later found out that he was detained in Mbuya, and that was on March 6th. I was also arrested and accused of sending church offertories to Rwanda to finance anti-Uganda operations. I was also accused of being a Rwandan spy. They tortured me while handcuffed. 1 month in the detention facility felt like an entire year of pain. Last night I was forced to sleep in the toilet.
The deported Rwandans say they have returned home empty-handed, as both the property and other things they had already achieved have been looted, while some have been forced to abandon their families. Most of them have been in Uganda for at least 5 years, where they engaged in various religious and business activities, while others had gone there to visit friends and relatives. 8 of them were detained at the CMI headquarters in Buya, Kampala, while one was detained in Chileka, and on Friday night he was transferred to Mbuya prison at the CMI headquarters before they were all deported to Rwanda. Rwanda-Uganda relations have long been strained. Illegal detention and torture of Rwandans living in Uganda started in 2017 until Rwandan government reached the point of urging its citizens not to travel to Uganda, which is still the case today. Reporting for RwandaTV News, Ethan Tashabia.
In schools, students are more likely to behave in a way that shows they have mental health problems, and that may have an impact on their learning. Experts in mental health believe that this is largely due to the conditions in families from which these students come from. Gabi Muvonyi tells us more.
Students in Munyanja Secondary School are playing and entertaining themselves at break time. However, there are others that are lonely. It is believed that such attitudes affects their lives as well as their studies. Here at this school, there are children who do not study well, who do not excel. When you follow up, you find that it is due to problems they have in their families, where they were born and where they live. It is often necessary to talk to them and understand them and help them get back on track. School officials say that teachers should help students with such mental issues to help them cope and recover.
Teachers also train on counseling, but it is also important to have one teacher who is primarily responsible to mental health issues to help students with such conditions.
Mental health problems are also common in Kareya Sindera Neuropsychiatric Hospital, where Sister Kaitesirwa Seraphine, who is a psychiatric, says the unusual behavior of children often reflects the state of their family. The child may behave poorly and may experience a great deal of irritability, which is immediately noticeable. Other symptoms such as collapsing, appearing to be epilepsy, or physical pain that is not noticeable by scans. But once you know the details of what they don't like, you start to make improvements. Rwanda Education Board says that some measures have already been taken into place to address the issue of trauma in schools.
To date, we have trained 1,500 tutors. So those train others so that when a child encounters a problem of trauma, they can help him. You know, there are children who come to school carrying the mental strain of the issues at home, and that affects their mental health. In collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, an initiative was launched in December last year where healthcare providers are contacted at health centers in case of any problem.
Kareya Sindera receives at least 7 children with mental health problems per day. If you want to help a child, first start with a family setup. What a child is given at a young age is what he or she grows up with. A child's life begins before he or she is born. How is a child conceived? Is the mother of the child happy with her environment? Let's build a Rwandan family together as parents. It's been a month since District Hospital started working with schools where students with mental health problems meet with psychiatrists. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Thanks, Gabi, for that report. Now, moving on, agriculture provides up to 60% of all jobs on the African continent. But African farmers need greater access to insurance mechanisms to develop resilience to external shocks, and majority of agricultural holdings in Africa are currently deprived of any kind of protection against climate hazards. My colleague Sam Kalisa spoke to Love Mo Forichi from Alliance about this and more.
Thank you very much, Sam. Actually, agriculture is what we call an open roof industry. In other words, it is subject to the vagaries of nature. So vagaries of nature means that you can have, for example, drought affecting your production, your crop production. You can have hail coming to your crop, destroying your crops. You can have excessive rainfall also affecting your crops. Fire that ravages, it could be wildfire, it can also affect your crops or animals. Right. So it's an open roof industry. Why it's important then for farmers to insure is to secure their enterprises. So they have to transfer the risk to the professional risk carriers like insurance companies. Allianz is one of them. And then this way, their enterprises are secured. The biggest problem is that agriculture is out there and it is subject to all the vagaries of nature.
Absolutely. As we're talking about agriculture insurance, in Africa, we can say we still have a low uptake when it comes to agriculture insurance. Sir, as you've toured different continents and different countries around the world, why do we still have a low uptake on agriculture insurance, particularly in Africa?
There's several points actually that affect the uptake of agricultural insurance in Africa. I'll just point to a few of them. So one of them is actually farmer sensitization. So the outreach and sensitization of the farmers to let them know that there is professional risk takers that they can transfer their risk to and get compensation when they have a loss. The second point is actually affordability of premiums. Insurance generally, especially agricultural insurance, is generally perceived to be expensive. So the farmers, because they already have reduced margins, because they have to pay for inputs and a lot of other things to run their enterprises, they end up having very little money left to pay premiums. So affordability is one of the biggest issues that actually affects the uptake of agricultural insurance on the continent. Some countries, some governments, like even Rwanda is an example, have come up and tried to subsidize the premiums for the farmers so that it becomes a bit more affordable. So Rwanda is one of them, Kenya next door, Uganda also next door to you. They are subsidizing premiums for the farmers so that it can be more affordable. What we see globally is that where there is subsidies, where there's government intervention, where there's public-private partnerships in place, we have a higher penetration of agricultural insurance. I'm talking, for example, in the USA, I'm talking, for example, in China and India, all those geographies, all those countries have a higher penetration of agricultural insurance because of the intervention of the public sector.
All right.
Then another one is also to do with trust and so on. And I think the private sector is really working hard to make sure that the farmers or the insurers trust their insurance companies. What does that mean? If there is a loss, if there's a loss event, insurance companies should quickly come on board and compensate the farmers, especially when they have been affected by perils that are insured.
All right, sir. There are, of course, large-scale farmers, but there are as well small-scale farmers. Why should, for instance, a small-scale farmer in Rwanda or elsewhere in the region care about insuring or, of course, putting his or her project or her agricultural activities under insurance? Why is it so necessary?
Yeah. So this is how agricultural insurance works. So the farmer loses their crop due to the perils I've talked about: drought, excessive rainfall, fire, hail, and so on. So when they lose their crop, it means that they cannot, first of all, feed themselves. So they cannot feed themselves, and also they don't have an extra income from selling the excess or after feeding themselves. So you're talking about issues of food security for the farmer's farm household. Then you also have this issue of hedging your loss against hedging your loss so that you can be also bankable. So you have to have enough excess money left after farming so that you can go to the bank and you can then use your balance sheet to borrow more. So you can have what we call gearing. So you increase your gearing ratio when you do that. And also, when you are compensated by insurance, you can stay on the farm. So you really stay on the farm, you keep producing the crops, you keep rearing your animals, and thereby also then you don't have to have this issue of rural-urban migration, people leaving the farms, going to the urban areas to look for jobs because their farms are already devastated by the natural hazards. Insurance is there now to compensate for that so that the farmers stay on the farm and then they produce and then they also make money out of it.
All right. So as we end to the conclusion, what are some of the available innovative products for farmers to explore when it comes to agriculture insurance? Of course, information here is the key, according to what you've just told us. So what are the innovative products available for farmers to explore?
Right. So traditionally, agriculture insurance was really meant for the commercial sector. So this is what we call traditional indemnity-based covers. So they were really tailored for the large-scale farmers. Why? Because traditional insurance products are resource intensive. You have to send assessors to the fields. They have to assess what is happening on the field. And of course, because the commercial farms are big, the sheer size of the commercial farms makes it economic to deploy resources to go and visit farms, to assess the loss, to assess the productivity. Now, when you have a smallholder farmer who has got less than an acre holding, it's very expensive to send assessor to every one of those small pieces of land because then operationally it's very expensive. Now, parametric solutions were born, index insurance was born so that you could cater for the very, very small farmer. What does that mean? It means we don't have to visit the farms. We can use satellite technology, for example, to have data on what is happening on your farm. When we are remotely, wherever we are, we can actually assess what is happening on the farm. And so farmers can actually, small-scale farmers can purchase what we call parametric solutions or index insurance solutions, which can be done remotely.
So, and finally, what is the task to, of course, policymakers, to countries, and of course, other organizations that deal daily with farmers? What is the task to them?
To them, we normally call them aggregators because they are the ones who organize the farmers. So small-scale farmers by nature, they are very small. And for insurance companies, it's not economic to entertain every one small farmer. It's better that they come as a collective, like a cooperative or a commodity association or any other organizational form that aggregates them. So they become an aggregate. So they become more. So the numbers, the more the numbers we have, the easier and the cheaper the premiums are going to be because the insurance is a game of numbers. So more numbers, bigger conglomerates, congregations in terms of aggregation, the better. So whoever is dealing with farmers should actually think about seeing how to transfer the farmers' risk to the professional risk carriers like insurance companies.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to have your company. Enjoy the rest of the programming. Happy Easter holidays to everyone that celebrates this wonderful holiday. May our Lord Jesus Christ resurrect in every area of your life that desires resurrection. Of course, enjoy responsibly, not forgetting that it is crucial to stop the spread of the pandemic. Otherwise, God bless you and keep you. And until next time, I'm Gloria Mutesi.